Well, this week we have another special guest for our listeners. And this week we have an English teacher, one of our colleagues from America.
Hopefully, as we talk, you will be able to hear the difference between our accent and her accent. And we have a little bit of a joke about it, but she's a very dear colleague.
Yeah. But you can definitely tell the difference between British English and American English.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always say British English, the first and the best.
Oh, the original.
The original, yeah. And those Americans and those Australians, they've kind of taken our language and copied it and used it for their own advantage. But it came from us. We're letting them have it from our heart, though. Yeah.
Well, this is Charlotte, and I think Charlotte has a fantastic accent. And she's also got some excellent advice for some learning methods.
She has, yeah.
So hopefully enjoy it and check out all the information about her, connect with her, and enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to BizPod with me, Paul.
And me, Rachel.
Our weekly business English podcast where we talk about the news, social media, and hot topics from a business point of view. You'll get a podcast and links to the articles we discuss. This way you can share your thoughts too. Join us as we discuss what's on our minds this week.
Right, well, today we have somebody new, another guest, another month, another guest, and it's Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte. Would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. I am Charlotte from rural northern Indiana, where we have plenty of cows, cornfields, and our fanatic basketball followers, even down to the lowest levels of primary school children. We love our basketball. Give us basketball. We're thankful that we now also have a professional team, the Indiana Pacers. And the women's NBA is the Indiana Fever. So we've got serious basketball action in the state of Indiana. And that's about it here. But
so basketball and cows, that's all you have, basically.
Basically, yeah. Yeah. Although I did just learn we have tomatoes as well.
Oh, okay.
Indiana is in the top 3 tomato producing states for the nation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about are you born and bred in Indiana?
Yeah.
Born and bred in Indiana. Yeah. I can't get it out of me. And people can kind of hear it when I talk. I don't know. Do you think I'm nasal?
You've got a very strong accent.
Yeah.
I'm thinking sort of, yeehaw, cowboy.
We're not quite like that because it's a little bit dense here. Now, if we would go further west, there would be a lot more yeehaw. But here, where we are, I think it's nasal. I think it has to do with being too close to Lake Michigan, the impact of a large body of water on the sinus cavities. I don't know.
I'll tell you what it is, Charlotte. We've been watching The Tulsa King, which is nowhere near you. I know that.
No, I know it isn't.
Connections are firing in my brain with the sound, so to speak.
Well, I'm going to have to check that out.
I don't know.
Tulsa's Oklahoma. I mean, forgive my lack of knowledge of geography, but how close are you to Oklahoma?
Not anywhere. Not anywhere. No. Indiana is up by Lake Michigan. So, in fact, the area that I'm from is so close to the border with the state of Michigan that we call our area Michiana.
Oh, really?
Yes, we do. Because there's so much cross-border. And back in the day when Indiana was very, very adamant about not doing the daylight savings time thing, well, then we had to make sure that on the local news, the clock showed the time in Michigan and in Indiana.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I learned.
That's just being very finicky, isn't it?
It is, and I just think, okay, I have a rant about daylight savings. I just don't really think it's worth it. And I remember when I moved to another state, I went through absolute traumatic panic, not knowing if I was getting up at the right time now. Because what if I was early and nobody was there? Or what if I was late and everybody was already there?
Better to be
Yeah.
early than late for sure.
That is true, but still, it's unnecessary stress, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It doesn't make sense in the modern world that we have this change twice a year now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe hundreds of years ago when it was a useful thing for the farmers and
Yes.
for, but
Mm.
yeah, it kind of doesn't make
These
sense in the modern
days.
world, I don't think.
No,
No.
no. And I think one of the things, they're calling it daylight savings. Okay, we aren't using as much electricity to have lamps, lights, and those kinds of things on. And during the summer, we aren't heating the home. Okay, we've had to use air conditioning, so my electric bill hasn't been as low this year as it has in some years past. But that's the thing too. Does this really produce a savings for people if they don't have to use as much electricity? And I don't really think it makes a difference.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So does the whole of America, all the different states, do they all follow the same daylight saving rules now?
I believe Arizona is the last state to not
Come on,
buck.
Arizona. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I have a friend in Arizona, and we're always like, okay, are we now 3 hours different or are we two? And I leave it up to her because she's got family on the East Coast and everything. So it's
Yeah,
like, she'll let me know what time
yeah.
we can have a phone call because I'm just not keeping up with Arizona at all.
Well, look, that's a lot about America,
Yeah,
Charlotte.
it
But what
was.
about
I didn't even plan any of that. This is unscripted.
what about you? Tell our listeners about you, what you do, what your passion is.
Yes. Well, besides basketball, which I don't play, I just watch because that's enough fun for me. I have been a language trainer for English for 25 years as
Oh,
of this recording. Yeah, and I stumbled into it. It was one of those be at the right place at the right time moment. I'm actually trained for primary school education. That's my bachelor's degree. And had some rough experiences at the beginning and realized that's not my passion. If you're in the room, and I know, Rachel, you understand probably what I'm saying because of your background, when you are in the room with primary school teachers, it's intense. They are so passionate about what they do. It's like, this is the only way to live, which I have no problem with. But I was like, but if that's not my passion, what am I doing here? What am I
mhm.
doing here? It was weird. It was a really weird thing because I did not expect that at all. I thought the way I was training, oh, children's literature. Yes, I have to, as a requirement, read skazillion children's books and evaluate what grade level I would use them for and follow up to activities after the book. And I created a board game for the book Island of the Blue Dolphins, and I have never thrown that away. I threw all kinds of my training materials away, but not that one. I love my board game for the book Island of the Blue Dolphins. So, anyway, here I am having had some exposure to Germany through my university time and from things after that. And I was like, I just love Germany. I just really love Germany, have friends there, have good connections. So I did an exploratory trip in the fall of 1999. I quit my job in Atlanta, Georgia, and just went. and was visiting different friends here and there. And one of my friends had told me, if you want to live abroad, get a job teaching English because they want native speakers. And I was like, well, I didn't train for that. I don't have any background in that. But I went to, and I'm not going to name the language school in case we want to do data privacy here, but it was a language school that has its own method. And when I spoke to the director, she's like, no problem. You're a teacher, so that's the first part. Now we have our own method. You'll have to go through our training. And if you pass the training, you can be an English teacher for us. And that's where it started.
So was this school in Germany or was this school in
Yes,
America?
yes, this school was in Germany. Yeah.
Wow, and how long did you stay there?
I stayed in that city in the eastern part of Germany. It's called Halle an der Saale because you have to differentiate that there are two cities in Germany named Halle. You separate them by which river they're associated with. So the Saale
Ah,
River is the one that flows through the area near this city. And so I lived and worked there for 11 years. And
whoa.
after that, my husband and I moved up to Flensburg, but I was already working for another language provider where I was doing virtual training. So I was set 2011. I've been a virtual trainer since that time. Haven't looked
Wow.
back.
That's probably one of the longest.
I don't know. Could
Yeah,
be. Could be.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about, I mean, when you're not at work, what are your passions? What things do you like to do apart from watching the basketball, when you're
Well,
not working?
I can tell you, I'm late to the game because all these people who during COVID found new passions and new interests and were able to train and learn how to do things because they were watching videos. Well, I was working, so I didn't. So I was late to the game. And my thing right now, creating skincare products with
Oh,
essential oils and
oh,
other ingredients. Having
wow.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you do a course for that?
No, I just got recipes. And it's
Okay.
been a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
For me, some of the best way of learning is that I just try to figure it out,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which doesn't always work that well, but uh,
You've had some disasters as well, presumably.
well, it's not exactly disasters, but do you know doing these kind of recipes is mathematical? And it's like that is the whole thing I didn't excel in school ever. You know, you have to have calculations. So I got this book from a friend called Beehive Alchemy
Mhm.
because this woman created a whole book about all the things you can make from all bee products. So I wanted to check her recipe for a skin cream that needed um, beeswax
Mhm.
because I know beeswax is a common ingredient in skincare products, but she had her calculations so precise, and there's this much percent of this and this much percent of this and so on. But her recipe was going to make 4 jars of the product. And
Okay.
I'm like, I'm not
Oh,
ready to go that far yet. I want to
okay.
know if I like it before I've
Yeah.
got 4 jars sitting around. So my sister was trying to help me do the math. It was crazy. We were like, okay, if I only want to do 1 jar, how do we get the 100% in the end? But it's going to be different percentages and grams. I love my kitchen scales. I love my kitchen scales, people, because I can do ounces, I can do pounds. I can do grams, I can do liters. A kitchen scales, everybody needs one. Everyone needs one, no matter what you're doing.
Mhm.
You
True.
can measure everything. So
That
that's what I was doing.
was the
But you also need a
recipe.
degree in mathematics as well.
I don't have a degree in mathematics. Math makes me nervous.
I was gonna ask, I mean, was the the recipe, was the recipe in metric or imperial?
She did both. She did both
Oh,
because we have to figure it could be sold anywhere in the world, and we're
exactly.
that close to Canada as well. So we have to make sure we're good for either side of the border there. So yeah, it was in both. But I prefer
Okay.
doing it in metrics just because, well, because I started, and I can do this in Imperial as well. I know, but I started, oh, this was the thing I learned. Okay, so this was the thing I learned late in life. Physics. Physics in the kitchen. Yes, it's a thing. You can use physics in the kitchen. I didn't have physics. I didn't know anything about it. So I'm doing this recipe with someone who's saying, okay, now I want this much butter. So grab a Pyrex glass measurer and fill it to this amount with water and then start throwing in butter until the water level doubles. I said, you do what? Displacement. I did not know. And that is the most practical thing because you don't have nearly the mess with butter when you're trying to smash it into cup measurers as if you take a larger cup and put the water in and let it double its level. And then you know you've got the right amount of butter.
That's
People,
interesting.
isn't it amazing?
Yeah. You should have
Amazing.
paid more attention at school.
No, I just didn't have physics. After bombing chemistry, who's going to go on to physics? I mean, I was having a crisis of confidence. I just thought, okay, languages, history, that's drama, acting, that's my thing. So
Okay.
Okay.
stay away from the sciences, just stay away.
Can I
Okay,
ask
well,
you a
we've been,
question?
mm,
Sure.
Sorry, because you mentioned about Canada a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Um, so what system do they use in Canada? Is it metric or imperial?
All metric. All
It's all
metric.
metric in Canada,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Okay.
They're always talking about kilometers and they're always talking about Celsius and all those things. And the United States had a period of time, I want to say I was maybe fifth or sixth grade, where we did have a whole unit on metric in math because there was the consideration that we would switch over. And then
Right.
it never came to pass.
mm.
It seems old-fashioned though to talk in pounds and ounces and miles now, though, doesn't it?
Oh, you got to have my husband saying, what is all this stuff? He's German and it just does not make any sense to the poor guy. But
Yeah, and trying
yeah,
to explain inches to Germans. What's
yeah,
an inch? It's
yeah,
about 2.5 centimeters.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And that had an impact on me when I wanted to get my hair cut in Germany and they wanted to know how much do I want off? Well, I can't tell them inches. Well, I'll just have to show them. You can do this much. Because they would ask in metric, and I'd be like, I don't know. I just
Two
don't know.
about 2 inches.
We
Well, it
had
was
that,
more than
didn't
two.
we? Do you remember when we went to get our identity card and the lady asked us in Italian how tall we were?
Oh,
And we
oh,
just went 5'6", 5'10". And she
yeah,
was like, what? And she was like,
What?
no, 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 no. And she actually
yeah.
stood us against the wall with a pencil and then got the
And
meter.
measured us, didn't she?
That's great. Well, I can't remember how tall I am in metric. I know I had to know measurements like that when I was living in Germany, and I don't remember what it is. But what I can tell you, I absolutely have no complaints about how much I weigh in kilograms.
Go on
That
then,
is
tell us.
perfectly fine. Pardon?
Tell us then. How much do you weigh in kilograms?
No, you don't
I
ask
don't
a
know
lady
because my
that.
scales is now in imperial, so I'm not sure how much it is. And
But it's going to
anyway,
be
women
half,
would
isn't it?
never
It's
answer that
half.
question.
Yeah, no. I shall slap in for you later, Charlotte, because you don't ask a woman that question. What I wanted to ask you, Charlotte, though, was
Yeah.
about with regards to teaching English. What is
Yes.
your passion? What do you like to focus on? What are the things that you enjoy teaching when you're teaching somebody English?
Yes. Well, what I like to focus on is that it is totally student centered. I remember when I had to use the books at that unnamed language school, drove me crazy. But I realized the same thing happened to me in the primary school work. I'm looking at the teacher's manuals and just thinking, I don't know what they want me to do with this. But if I can create it out of my head, I'm okay. And so I have found a great source of joy in working together with people and seeing what they're bringing to the table. And by taking what they're bringing to me, things start to click for me. And I start to maybe ask questions about this or say, have you ever done that? And these kinds of things. And just really making a connection with the individual is like so much fun for me and so thrilling and fulfilling. And to know whatever we're going to do together, I'm ready to just go where you need to go. And I don't have to have an agenda at all. Now, what I have started thinking about was, if I'm doing my own business, which I'm just launching into now, what is an area just to even get started with people? And that's where I started thinking about fluency because I had some C1 learners in a workshop and I asked them their goals because I wanted to find ways to make it specific to what they wanted. I think of 8 people in the group. I think maybe all but one said they wanted to increase their fluency. Great. That's what we're going to work on then. And as I started asking them more about, well, why do you think you need to improve your fluency? Some of them said, oh, sometimes I just can't think of the word I want. Or sometimes they would just say, I think I just have too many ums and ahs. Like it's just not all coming out in a good tempo and everything like that. I'm like, okay, we can work with that too. So here I am, and I'm giving them these tasks of things to talk about. And I'm going around in the different breakout rooms and I'm listening and thinking, they want to improve their fluency. I do not see any need for this. They're fantastic. I'm just listening to them. And over the course of time, I said, people, at the beginning of this workshop, you said you wanted to improve your fluency. And I'm really struggling with this because everything I hear coming out of you people, I'm like, I can give you any topic. Any topic. It doesn't matter what it is, and you run with it. I don't get it. So, I guess maybe they weren't confident that they were
Mm-hmm.
fluent
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and didn't realize it's like, when I have a student say to me, my English is really bad, I said, I'll be the judge of that. I'm the teacher. I'm gonna pull the teacher card here. I have a little bit more authority on this than you. And if I don't think your English is bad, then your English is not bad. So it's a confidence issue. And that's another thing. I love being able to help people to know what they can expect. When I was very active doing language assessments with the European Language Certificates Company, um, that's where I found, test preparation was a lot of fun for me because it's like, I know this test. I know exactly what you have to do. I know exactly what they're going to want, and just let people feel confident because some people really panic before they have to do a test. So that's my thing with thinking with fluency. How can you be confident, relaxed, and do your thing, not somebody else's thing? And so that's why I just had this inspiration to have a method, and it came based around an acronym
What's the acronym?
because I have found that acronyms, mnemonic devices in general, I know help people learn. And
Mhm.
I've had experience learning things and using mnemonics. And if people don't know mnemonics, that's what happens when you take something that's new and try to associate it with something you already know so that it's going to be in your memory. And I love it because in Germany, the word for mnemonic devices is translated to English, donkey bridge.
No.
Yes, yes,
A donkey
No.
yes.
bridge.
Yeah, so I
Wow.
just need to create a donkey bridge for this. I'm like, donkey bridge, where'd you get that? I did not do my research before this recording. Sorry, I'm not sure how that came to be. Maybe people are going to want to Google that after they listen because I don't know. Or maybe you've got Germans who listen to this who will weigh in and say, well, the reason we call it donkey bridge is because. But yeah, so this whole way to make a connection started to grow in my mind and to create an acronym out of the word fluently. So if I take the word fluently and break that down, that gives people an opportunity to prepare themselves and do things at their own pace and to just try to see, well, where am I at this point? And do I need more? And that kind of a thing. So that is what I've been working on because some of the mnemonic devices that have helped me, for example, are visual. And this is a real story about when I was in Germany, and there's the word for gay and there's the word for humid. Now, when you look at them spelled, they look almost the same, but there's one tiny, tiny difference because the pronunciation will change. So,
Okay.
schwul is the word for gay, and schwül is the word for humid. Now, for you to change that vowel sound, there are two dots over the U. That's called the umlaut in German, so that you know your vowel is going to combine a UE. Well, I never could get that straight. And I was like, oh, what if I say, I'm talking about the weather and I say it's gay or, something like this. I mean, you don't want to make such a big mistake. And I had a friend who said, well, think about it like this, Charlotte. What if there are those two dots over the U and you remember rain or water? That
Yeah.
will help you to think of humidity. I'm like, thank you so much. So I do not mix those two words. I've got them. I'm good. But
Okay.
but with the acronyms, I always liked it when you could make a word like, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, UNESCO. I never did remember what all those words were. I had to look them up. Do you know what UNESCO stands for? Really? You
No.
don't?
United
United
Nations
Nations.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Economic.
It's the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization.
Whoa.
I know, that's
There you go.
big. Now, I can't remember that, but I can say UNESCO because you can say it like a word. And
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing I like with acronyms when you can say it like a word. And for
Mhm.
example, for my training business, I'm calling it You Can Speak English Fluently. And my logo was developed by a dear friend of mine 10 years ago because I've been trying a long time to spread my wings and fly. And my logo comes from my name.
Uh-huh.
Charlotte Ann Neumann makes the word can. And
Can.
can is
Yeah.
what so much embodies who I am as a trainer. You can do this and you can. I will help you if you can't now so that you can in the future.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, this helps me so much to stay focused on who I am. And it's the word you. And then the can is like a speech bubble with the C. So thinking of people when the person is training with me, they're thinking, I can, because
Mm-hmm.
she says to me, you can, and we're going
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
work together until I can.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I have been busy with, and with having that focus now to know who I am, what I'm about, and then to take an acronym in order to provide a structured training for people that still remains very flexible, because it's just whatever the person brings. I cannot say beforehand, well, we're going to do this way, because I don't know. And I love taking the time to find out and say, what do you want? Let's do
But
this
that's,
together.
Charlotte, that's super, because that's like, you've explained it so openly and clearly that anybody listening to this will know exactly what you stand for. But then there's that wonderful flexibility that you're personalizing it. And,
Yes.
personal education is the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
make things very personal.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. I think that's
Mhm.
brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you. And I owe some of this to you, dear Rachel.
No, no, no. Your friend with the logo 10 years ago, it's been there in your head. You just needed it dragging
Well,
out.
no, but with the Fluently method and thinking
Mm,
more about how to structure an online
mm,
business,
mhm.
that's where I owe it to you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so what else? I'm just having a look at some of the things that you said. You were talking as well about non-language related things, and there's this thing about exercise snacks and the benefits of moving.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Exercise
So,
snacks. I like the sound of that.
yeah, exactly. Anything having to do with food should be a very good thing. Well, exercise snacks. I got this from my fitness trainer, Lucy Wyndham Reed, who's a YouTube trainer, has a phenomenal following, and she is just so genuine and so adorable. I just really enjoy training with her. And she started having on Instagram and things like that exercise snacks. So, sitting in front of the computer hours on end and doing all this kind of work training with people, it's like, oh, sometimes I just need to get up and move my body. So she would have these exercise snacks. Maybe for 3 minutes you can do this one different exercise. And I started thinking, well, if there's exercise snacks, there could be language snacks, just little tidbits. I think
Yeah.
that's that micro learning thing that's out there now. But yeah, exercise snacks, so that I have learned so many fun different moves that help with my shoulders, that help with my back, that are strengthening my arms and legs and my core and all that kind of stuff. And so I'll sometimes just stand up, go to the living room and do a few moves and then come back and sit down. So
You're refreshed, you're recharged,
You look
re-energized.
craay for a few seconds and then you're
exactly.
back to work. Yeah.
But nobody sees that, so
No,
that's okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
Charlotte,
Okay.
you've been a bundle of fun to talk to. You really have.
I didn't know if I would be as much fun as BB and Peter were.
Oh,
So,
they were crazy. They were.
that was like, are they
Yeah.
for real? I
Paul
mean,
and I were like, what?
We're a bit shell shocked after that one, weren't we?
We
I bet
were.
you were. I bet you were, but it was a great interview and I really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed your interviews. I've been listening in on them to just get an
Okay.
idea of what all you do. So
Well,
it was fun.
hopefully, maybe you'll start getting some and then we can come and be a guest on yours.
You know, it's possible. I just discovered Clipchamp.
Ah,
I have
yeah.
Clipchamp with my Microsoft 365 subscription that I pay for annually, and I'm going to use my tools now.
All right. Well, Charlotte, thank you so much for speaking to you today. And we're going to put all the links if anybody wants to get in touch and learn more
Yes,
about your method. So if anybody wants to find Charlotte, learn with Charlotte, everything will be with this podcast. Okay. Thanks a lot.
exactly. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right.
Thanks for listening. We hope you liked our podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe and stay connected with us. Until next time, goodbye.